Welcome back to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn, Hinderaker, and we have so much to share with you for this particular show. There's a portion of the show that's going to really be meaty, all right? I'm letting you know right up front. If you say, well, you know, business is a little bit boring, everything's the same old, hang around, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to really be discussing it and thinking it inside about all the answers to the questions I'm going to place right in front of you. But first, I must say, the one thing that comes up when I'm out there visiting with business owners is they say, Lynn, how do I add extra value? You know, I just don't understand. There's the product. We get pretty good reviews on it. There it is. We think it's priced well. What else can I do? You know, what else can I do? It's a reasonable question, but I got to tell you, there's many, many answers. I'm going to give you an example right now. Several years ago, I was involved with Mercedes-Benz here in the Omaha, Nebraska area, and they had just come out with a new model Mercedes had, and it was called the C-Class. I thought that was very interesting. It was competitively priced and everything, so I began playing around with it. Now this was after there was some danger with 9/11 and so on. A lot of people were nervous about airplanes as they are today, a little bit worried about taking travel in certain areas and so on. And so the idea would be, well, why don't we just enhance traveling here in the state of Nebraska? And so that became the big strategy there, and utilized the new vehicle, C-Class Mercedes-Benz, as we mentioned before. But now, and let me go back and say, well, there it is. This will be great. Here we go. It's a good looking car and priced well. And boy, I sure hope, I hope people want to buy it, right? But I said, now, wait a minute. What are we going to do with this now, given the trend in our culture and the anxiety and the fear about what's going to go on and who we're going to be encountering and so on? Maybe we should have a vacation package that is limited to Nebraska, right? And make the whole thing, introduce the new C-Class car as a key element, kind of a vacation catalyst, shall we say, across the entire state of Nebraska. Oh, that's kind of nice, putting it kind of in a different setting then, right? It's not just going anywhere whenever you feel like it and getting into the vehicle. I said, no. Let's give it a context within which it excels. But now there's another thing here, and that was the roof. The roof would open up nicely and so on. And so I thought, well, maybe we could somehow, exploit that, make it more interesting just to look at rather than just a picture of a car. So we went out and got a dog, believe it or not, and somebody who had the dog reasonably well trained and so on. And believe it or not, we got it all set up with a backdrop of Nebraska and all the incredible things that it offers out in western Nebraska. And so here we are. The name of this ad, as you can see right here, is C, 30% more in Nebraska. C, of course, we're utilizing it as a capital C, which is the model instead of the words S-E-E, right? See, so see more of Nebraska, right? And then you open up the roof and there's the dog kicking out his head, taking a look at all the great things to look at and on a Nebraska inspired vacation. There it is. But that's not all. Now, again, we're talking about how do we add value? How do we make it more interesting? But there at the bottom of the ad, you see a free vacation planner. Well, now we're talking, right? So not only are we going to buy a car and maybe take a vacation in that beautiful car, maybe we'll even see some great monuments or something really special, but also we're going to have a planner that will enable us to know where we're going and where to stop and get gas and eat and so on and so forth. We'll have all that in front of us. We've loaded up the value equation for the introduction of this particular car and leverage the words and, of course, all the things that emerge during a vacation in the state of Nebraska. So that is exciting. That's a great example of how to add value, how to put context and really bring an ad or a product or a headline alive. I'm going to give you one more example. Some of you are in the landscaping industry, or you purchased some landscaping in the backyard, and you have maybe a pool and a spa and some beautiful greenery and planting and so on and so forth. But you know, when you do that, and you go to the effort to do that, you're probably going to have some kind of an event or invite the neighbors over, you know, do something there in this newly beautiful backyard of yours, right? So why not, in this particular case, we'll do the same thing, create some kind of a booklet about how to have a great party in your neighborhood or in the community or whatever, so you can show off all these cool little things that have gone on, the spa, maybe a cold plunge, the various rocks and the walls and so on, all these little different things, maybe even some ambient music kind of in the background that sets the tone. So now we're really selling how to organize a party that's fantastic in the context of you know, a backyard landscaping project. Two examples right here of how to add value and make some product come alive and be more interesting, putting it in context. That's right. Kind of exciting. Pretty cool. Can be used in a number of ways. All right, now, I got to share a quote with you before I dive into the meat of this particular program. And it may be something that you've seen somewhere. This gentleman is being, well, he's got a legacy, clearly. I'm going to hold this up right now. But here's his quote, and the quote is being replicated full steam ahead here, full page. And it says, talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. It's a very interesting phrase and mentality. You know, this gentleman has passed away recently, so everybody is giving a lot of attention to this particular quote that just epitomizes you. It kind of it symbolizes what you're all about. Now, the thing is, when I saw this, I thought, well, that's a really cool quote. Talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. But I just wonder whether maybe if it were reversed, more of you might say, yeah, that makes more sense to me, which is opportunity is everywhere, but talent is not. Isn't that an interesting thing? I hope when I see you on the street or we get a chance to talk in your offices sometime in the near future, you will tell me which one of those two, the variations on that quote, do you think is most interesting? I would say this, by the way, opportunity is everywhere, talent is not. That would be my interpretation of it based upon my personal experience. We get into that some other time, of course, but I just wanted to share that with you. It's a very interesting thing. Now, on the back end of this show, I'll just tell you briefly, we're going to devote the entire back end of the show to urban natural people, including urban natural buyers, urban natural design, around which you can build a city or a main street or an interior of a beautiful home or a hotel or whatever. And then most importantly is urban natural, how should I say it, lifestyle in the broadest terms. And we think that this word should be utilized and manifested so that it can really differentiate the state of Nebraska. Come to Nebraska, the urban natural state. Come to Omaha, come to Lincoln, the urban natural city, all right? Because obviously what we're doing there, everybody understands this by now, is that urban stands for technology, change, concrete, you know, that's what urban is. And then of course natural is, green and organic and that kind of thing. You put those two together and of course, quite an interesting word right there, urban natural. So that's fun to create new words that are so meaningful that are very helpful in describing who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and so on. You know, before I walk away from this, there are 50 million young professionals, well educated now, by the way, 50 million, that's 38% approximately of our entire population, 50 million, and we call them urban natural people. At one time, years ago, they were called cultural creatives. Cultural creatives. Same thing, we think urban natural is an even better word for today, but you get the sense when you hear the word, what it stands for. Now, finally, I'm going to move on here a little bit. We're going to get back to the urban natural thing after our promotional sponsorship and so on. We'll talk to you in depth about the people and then what it looks like to live in an urban natural building or urban natural home or work in an urban natural office. I'll let you know all of that on the back end of this show. But right now, I'm going to give you just a tidbit here. This is heavy stuff, okay? I want to tell you, when I sit down in front of somebody for the first time and they're like, I only got a few minutes. What is it you want to, that we should chat about, And then I begin to share the things I'm going to share with you right now. And about 20, 25, 30 minutes, they're like, give me another one. This is really incredible. Tell me more. I want to hear another question that is, I never thought about this. I never thought about this. So here we go. Get ready. And I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to kind of challenge you here. Do you agree? Don't agree? Why don't you say Y for yes and N for no, something like that. Scribble it out on a piece of paper. A very interesting series of questions. I'm going to ask you right here about your business model. All right, your business model. In other words, how do we do things around here? What's the operational system? What's important? What's less important? When you stoke it with new money, resources, talent, and so on, how do you do that, make it work? Why do we change anything anyway, right? That's a very interesting idea. So here we go. Number one, would you know if a disruptive business model is about to significantly change your industry? In other words, is something going to happen that's going to make your industry different, and everybody's going to wander around like, what do we do now? And I don't understand. I got to tell you right now, AI would be a great example of an answer for this particular question, of course. Number two, do you spend significant time? I don't know what significant time is for you. For me, I would say significant time is at least a half an hour, where the next positive, innovative disruption to your business will come from. The next positive change, positive innovation. What's going to happen? And it's going to be a good thing. And again, maybe AI is this. Maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's maybe it's a product innovation or something that everybody. Here would be an example: electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles. That would probably be a positive innovation. Think about. Especially if you're in the automotive industry or any of those materials and tools and so on that go on inside of that, is that a positive innovation, Tori? Probably. Now, what about this? What about the negative flip side right there? Huh? Do you spend significant time considering where the next negative innovative disruption to your business will come from? What's going to happen? And I think probably most small business people would tell you that technology, because they feel like they're kind of behind the curve a little bit. They can't afford to bring in all kinds of programmers and so on. So they kind of feel like maybe that's a negative thing for them, and it's difficult for them to catch up. It's maybe not a good thing at all for them. Now here's one. Are you actively monitoring other industries for business model innovations? We're talking about innovation that might transfer or be applied by you to transform your business or marketplace. In other words, you're watching what's happening out there in your industry. Somebody over here has announced, it's been in the trade magazines, and so, that they're going to do this and they're able to do that. We'll think about the restaurant industry, for instance, and predictive modeling, and somebody comes in, flashes a card, they go, oh, okay, we see right here, this guy's really into fried chicken, so before he even sits down, we're going to give a little bit of a fried chicken. All right? And now all the fried chicken fast food places around the area lose some business because the restaurant is anticipating what the new customer wants. All right, very interesting. So if you wanted to create room for business model innovation while continuing to perform profitably today, this is a big thing. I hear it all the time. Lynn, good ideas, they make sense, we should be paying close attention, but we don't really have time to do all that, right? We got all this over here. I'm not sure about that. We're still having problems with this. So these are just some of the heavy questions that are so germane to the evolution of your company as you go into 2026. You got to think about these things, and it can be helpful to have an outsider, somebody who has a different perspective on things. They've seen things happen in this industry or that industry. Could be very helpful. All right. Well, that's the first half of our show here in WowBiz, Nebraska. I've got to tell you, our sponsor today is something that I can't wait to talk with you about them because it's so powerful and yet so elusive. And that is the personal demeanor and self-image and packaging of an executive. whether it's a salesperson, CEO, any particular person in your operation. The question is charisma, huh? And really, if somebody says, well, I don't even know what that really means, let me break it down. It's energy. It's energy. What kind of energy do you radiate when you walk into a room or when you have the opportunity to visit with somebody? How do you handle yourself in a way that people are magnetized? I'm going to use that word consciously, magnetized by you, and how you present yourself physically, psychically, of course, verbally, and how you stand out while at the same time kind of working your way into an organization, kind of going with the flow and doing the kinds of things they want to do. We call this charisma coaching. And by the way, it is spelled K-A-R-I-S-M-A, charisma. And it's a fascinating process because it takes time to make changes like this. But I'll tell you, if you're an entrepreneur, you need good energy. You need a high profile. If you're a real estate agent, you need good energy. You need to be able to move in and out of rooms and talk about people and be open. This is just like one thing, by the way. One of the things that you'll see in people who are capable of attracting positive attention, whether it's customers or other employees or whatever, but charisma coaching, it often comes from somebody who is, how do I say it, physically kind of open, right? They're not like this, they're not like this, they're not sitting like this, right? They tend to be open-ended gestures and so on. Their body leans in. They're very interesting people. And this is one of the 6 months, this is a 6-month program, right? Where you meet with a coach, a developer, shall we say. They understand who you are. They've kind of talked about all of that. The first one's all about that. But then they think about, so what is attractive to you? For instance, your car, right? That would be a great example. Most of us like to be in a vehicle that kind of fits us for one reason. They can't explain it, but it sure seems right for me, right? So you see that all the time. And then also just how you visit with people who may or may not be customers of yours. How do you handle that? You don't want to be too pushy. On the other hand, you want to let them know that you're confident that you can help them if indeed they're interested. You know, all of this goes on and on. What you talk about when you have the opportunity to visit with something, all of this adds up to like an energetic impulse. I call it charisma, but another way to say it is kind of an energy impulse, right? That pulls people in, but it doesn't mean that you're working hard at it. It becomes kind of loose and natural and relaxed. And those are the people that make a lot of money because they're not there. They see themselves the way they want to be. This is a very important internal idea. They know who they are and what they're trying to become, and then it comes into their imagination and they just let themselves flow into that option. They let themselves, and it just flows, right? That's what it's all about. Very interesting, and this can be a critical element to your career. So you might want to contact Charisma Coaching. It's an outstanding organization. They focus on the deep personal stuff, and then I'll help you apply it to whatever business context is yours. So check out Charisma Coaching, K-A-R-I-S-M-A. You'll love it, and it will forever change your life. That's right. We're going to wrap up our show here, WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you for tuning in. We've got so much to share with you. But you know, one thing that comes up again and again as we talk about attracting people into the state of Nebraska, maybe into Omaha or Lincoln or Nebraska City, whatever it is. And I've used this word here. It's an interesting word. I told you about it before, called urban natural people, urban natural design, urban natural food, believe it or not. So let's just talk about those briefly, because this, if you can explain it, we're talking about energy in our promotional spot. Urban naturalism brings two opposites together. It creates energy. Oh man, and people go, hey, this is great. I love this word. I love everything that comes out of the word. All right. So right off the bat, I want to just show you. Here's an example of urban natural people. They're probably Gen Y or Gen Z, although there are definitely some people that are Gen X. They're in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s. They would consider themselves still urban natural. And of course, what we're talking about there is smooth next to hard. White next to black. Wood next to metal. Thinking about furniture here now in particular. So this is a fascinating word because we are all intrigued by opposites. At first glance, our left brain says, opposites? I wouldn't want to be around people that are opposite of me. I like to be with people that are around me. Then there's another group that's going, I'm going to learn more. I'm going to give more. There's going to be some more interesting conversation here. I'm excited about contrast. Contrast, right? Because out of contrast, by the way, comes these three words, but vision, creativity, and strategy. All of these three words come out or emerge in you personally and in your company when we're talking about urban naturalism. So you can see right now, we're going to take a quick look at what urban natural exteriors look like. This particular one has urban natural art. Very important. You can see it. It's hard to describe sometimes, but when you have wood typically, and then you have it right next to bricks or metal or steel or glass. Let's do it again. Here we go. Here's an external of a home. There's all kinds of interesting examples of home and what residential areas. You can see all the way down there, the lower right-hand corner there, a beautiful example of an modern urban natural home. Here we have an office that has been designed utilizing urban natural precepts and rules and ideas, and you see them right here inside of office. Somebody says, "Oh God, I hate going to the office. It's just a drag. I like to stay home. I get more done. The office is so ugly. But take a look at this, would you? And all the greenery. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful office this is. All the individual components." Let's take a look again at commercial exteriors. This is what, when you drive around, I was in Lincoln a while back and I was talking with the mayor and some other people there about urban natural design. And one of the gals went out and drove around. She said, "Lynn, we already have urban natural design in the buildings." I said, "Well, I think that's true in some cases, but the exterior of the building, what you're looking at right now, you only have one building in the entire downtown Lincoln area that is, in fact, urban natural." Here's examples of exteriors of urban natural buildings in a downtown environment. And we suggest that you look carefully here and look at all the greenery and so on. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now we're talking about urban naturalism here in the Omaha, Nebraska area. There's some work going on in the backdrop here, and I'm going to keep it kind of quick, but this is quite the interesting graphic. I'm going to show it to you right now. People say, "Well, I can understand what urban natural might be okay for landscaping." Of course, you see that at the top of our little graph here. Maybe interior design. I kind of get that, but it doesn't seem like it really is a big deal. It doesn't really apply to us. Look at here, urban natural coffee, urban natural art. I mean to tell you, it really is a much broader idea than you initially begin to think about it. And this is how urban natural design is changing our lives. It's a mega trend, as they call it. And I would encourage you to kind of check it out and look around with fresh eyes, looking for who has got a handle on this urban natural thing. I love it. I love urban natural. Now, where did this scientific backdrop come from? These three gentlemen right here kind of changed our world. You may or may not know them at all. David Hubble and Paul Ray and Peter Drucker and all of these guys right here. They're the ones that said, we got to bring these people in and got to realize what it is that they're bringing to the party. Yeah, so there's a scientific aspect to it. If you take a look at opposites, sooner or later, that's going to stimulate the release of hormones in your brain. Very positive. Dopamine, I think is what they call it. It'll give you a real nice, relaxed, mellow kind of a mood, pleasant, relaxed. Underneath there you see Paul Ray. Now this is the gentleman that conducted research and discovered what urban natural people are and who they are and why they're different from everybody else. And then in the lower right-hand corner is one of my favorite people, Peter Drucker. He passed away in the 90s. He said, "Marketing and innovation are all that matter, ladies and gentlemen. Everything else is an expense." That's Peter Drucker. And it's fascinating and very relevant even to this day. Absolutely. So there you go. Very interesting show here today. And again, I'm going to tell you, if you add it all up, you're going to get vision, creativity, and strategy. So when I talk to people and I say, you know, how you doing in this area and that area, sooner or later I have to say, what about vision, what about creativity, and what about strategy? Have you got those three bases covered? Because if you got that covered, you're 70% there. The only other piece that we're not mentioning right now, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is culture. Culture is extremely important, becoming more important as people are younger people too, are struggling to try to figure out their values, their career. Why does this older gentleman, the manager, expect me to commit so much to the things he wants to do and say? And I'm more interested over here. I just want to get home and do some personal things, by the way. So we go round and round and round with values and people and organizations, but those three words that I just gave you will unlock the door. And by the way, let's hope that you get an opportunity to really work with Urban Natural people. It doesn't require so much training. They get it. They'll get to the end of the room and they'll get it done for you. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. This is WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you so much for joining us. We've talked about a lot of things. Again, don't forget about our sponsor, Charisma Coaching. Thank you again. We'll see you very soon. Hang tight.